Greetings everyone, it's Jeremy Sutton here from PrecisionPrinciple.com on day 10 of the 30-day intensive Ashtanga yoga training. Today is Sunday and thankfully we have a day off, a much needed day of rest, and so I thought I'd take this opportunity because we've focused primarily on so much on philosophy, kind of got our heads on the clouds. I thought maybe it's time to put our feet back on the ground and start talking about some of the practical steps, some of the things that we can all use from this class, whether or not we're doing in a yoga class or whether or not we're maybe just conducting ourselves at work and whatnot. And also to do a little recap about who I'm studying with and my general opinions of our instructors. So let's start there. The instructor who I'm working with today, or with throughout this month, there are a few, but the primary leader of this yoga training is a man named Vijay. Vijay at Universal Yoga, and he is a true yogi. I have a lot of respect for this guy. He is impressive on a number of levels. On just a quick description, he is 59 or 60 years old, and he is incredibly strong and balanced. He is everything that you would hope a yogi to be. He has good equanimity of his mind, his speech, his breath, his general disposition is basically always positive and always pretty even-keeled. And although sometimes in his trainings he can be a little bit strict, you'll be in a headstand and he says, lift your legs, come on, lift your legs, But his discipline for yoga is immense, and his respect for this discipline is incredible, and clearly he's also a humble individual for how well practiced he is. Most of the times, the stories he tells us are only things about how he practiced so fanatically that he hurt himself, or the time that his previous teacher made an adjustment to him and it hurt him for several weeks and he had to overcome that. So most of the times his stories are about his times he's been injured, times he's made mistakes, and times that he's done the incorrect thing. Rarely is he sharing the times that he's done these impressive feats, although he has slipped them in there here and there. And Ashtanga yoga is physically very demanding. It's one of the most demanding styles of yoga. Even the primary series, this word primary denotes that it might be easier. That would be misleading to say the least. It's only primary in the sense that it's the first series. And in this first series, people are already doing all sorts of handstands, all sorts of flows where, for example, every single class, Vijay is so impressive. It's very common in the Ashtanga style to go from downward dog to just jump up into a handstand. And every day, he's 60 years old, and he'll jump up into a handstand. While he's in the handstand, he'll be casually explaining the next part of this process that we should all be going through. And then while in the handstand, he'll slowly bring his feet down to the ground. Or for example, it's common that you jump up and hold your feet up and then bring your feet through without touching the ground. If you're going to do a seated stretch, for example, a seated forward fold, you might jump from downward dog, hold your feet up, and then bring your feet through without them touching the ground. And so for example, he might be holding himself up, bring his feet through, and then sit down on his buttocks with the feet still up in the air. Or with his feet up in the air in front of him while he's suspended on his hands, he'll bring his feet maybe from a cross-legged position, but he'll bring his feet or just from straight, bring them all the way through and go straight into a handstand, again, without touching the ground. So he's incredibly strong. The evidence of his practice is throughout his whole demeanor, and the control, the bodily control that he has is just incredible. He's can easily put his legs into a full lotus. That's where you cross your legs with one leg up and the other leg up, and then with the legs there, reach his hands through the legs, bring his knees up to his chest, and then put his hands on his head. So he's basically cross-legged, balanced with his arms through his legs, and then up here on his hands. And then from there, going into a little hand balancing where he'll have in the lotus have his hands through his cross legs, and then undo the cross legs, and then go straight up into a handstand. Right. So this would be impressive for anybody. Let alone someone who's 60 years old. He doesn't really show it. His energy is phenomenal. He's often waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to do his own practices, and then our classes don't finish till 7:30 in the evening. He's currently, with a couple helpers, he's currently teaching a 200-hour teacher training course and a 300-hour teacher training course, and he's still taking drop-in classes throughout the day as well. He's leading a Mysore style Ashtanga yoga, followed by Ashtanga led class, followed by, in the afternoon, he's doing advanced classes for the upper level people, and then his energy is incredible. His equanimity is incredible. And so I have a really profound respect for the type of work that he's doing, because he's essentially helping people be healthier, happy people, and that seems like a great way to spend a life. And he's working 6 days a week. Guys who work for him are actually working 7 days a week. We asked this guy, Aravind, I think I'm mispronouncing his name, but Aravind, he said, asked him, hey, when do you have a day off? When's your break? Here it's May, and he says, well, I have 10 days off in November. So in about 6 months, I got, 5-6 months, I have 10 days off is what he's saying. And it's about 7 days a week until then. So just immense respect, really immense respect for Vijay, and appreciation for the chance to study with him and to learn from his experience, because it's profound. And on a side note, I say this with all respect, if you want to know who I'm working with, anybody who's played Street Fighter will know exactly who my teacher is. It's Dalsim for the Yoga Fire. Yeah, he is almost floating in front of us. Not quite. I mean, he's not, nothing supernatural, of course, but just a very impressive individual. So that's who we've been studying with, at least for the physical classes. The philosophy was taught by a man who has a PhD, Dr. Ganesh, PhD in yoga philosophy, as well as he used to be a professional football player here in India. But a very well-rounded, intelligent, super intelligent, very disciplined human. And upcoming next, we're going to have anatomy classes, and I'm also very excited for that. Next, some practical takeaways for both a yoga practice and just general life. Because yoga is about awareness. We've mentioned it's about bringing your awareness to the present moment. And it's not just about bringing your awareness in the present moment. It's about complete awareness in the present moment. Let's take an example from the Ashtanga class. Let's take, for example, any posture has these components, and we can sort of integrate these ideas into our regular posture to help improve mindfulness on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis. In fact, almost guaranteed, as you're watching this, just talking about these different elements are immediately going to bring them into your awareness, and then probably cause you to adjust and fidget and kind of realize how some things that might have been outside of your awareness. For example, every single posture basically starts from the feet. Basically, it all starts from the foundation and builds your way up. So let's just take a posture of standing as erectly as possible, just standing straight up and with full awareness. What does this entail? Well, we always start with the feet. Plant your feet firmly on the ground. Put the weight in the base of your big toe and on the base of your pinky toe, and then through the center of your heel. So each foot, we have a sort of tripod between the front two toes, the base of the front two toes, and through the heel, and you can even engage your feet to lift your arch. You can engage your ankles, both the inner and outer ankle. You say move the inside ankle towards the outward and the outside ankle towards the inward, and what that does is it brings full engagement to your ankles. Engaging your legs, lifting, putting pressure into your, not pressure, but engaging your legs so that your kneecaps lift up, engaging your thighs and quads. Usually at this point our hips are tilted back, so we want to rotate our tailbone down. We can do this by putting a hand on the stomach, hand on the tailbone, and sort of feeling that tailbone go down so that we're in line. Sometimes it's called squaring the hips. We might want at this point relax the stomach just a little bit. Then here we go. This is a common practice you can do anytime. You can lock your hands behind your back and straighten your shoulders. Inhale, straighten your shoulders, reach your shoulders back, kind of look up. Extend the spine and side ribs, sternum and chest up, and then exhale, bring the ribs down and in, right? At this point, now this is so common, we tend to keep our shoulders really high, especially when we're sitting down. Notice when we're at a restaurant, for example, a lot of us, we lean on a table. anytime that we're leaning on the table, anytime we usually start to get our elbows really high up. And this has a negative effect on our breathing, has a negative effect on our posture. We're putting all sorts of funny strain on our skeleton. And basically what we're doing is we are relaxing our muscles and hanging them on our skeleton, like our skeleton is a coat rack, and our muscles are some coat that we're just draping over them. So this is a very potentially harmful way to use our body over the long run, because maybe we've seen a lot of people who are older, and the older that we tend to get more hunch and get that hunch and hunchback kind of feel, and we lose height over time. Well, why is this happening? This is happening because we're taking our muscles and we're letting our muscles just be completely relaxed, and our muscles are obviously heavy, and then we're hanging them on the spine. And over time, even though the spine and the shoulders and the skeleton is very strong, it's one of the most profoundly strong structures that we could possibly hope for, but over years and years and decades of weighing our bones, weighing on our spine, it drags us down, it pulls us out of alignment. All right? So if you're sitting at a table right now, maybe you're leaning forward, you can take your arms off of the chair, off of the table, fold them kind of like this in your lap, and bring these shoulders, roll them back and down, right? And now we can do that breath we just did, so we inhale up, and then exhale the ribs in, tuck the tail so that we're sitting. If you're sitting on your sit bones, and then chin parallel to the floor or slightly down, and then in Ashtanga Yoga, even the eyes always have a position. Some common positions are, if your hands are out, could be your thumbnail, could be, if you're looking down, could be your toenail. Or, for example, they'll say look up to your third eye, just look up to the brow. If we're looking up, if the posture's up, then I want to be looking up. If the posture's down, maybe I'm looking to the tip of my nose. So here when I'm standing, I might choose to look at the tip of my nose, or even just a point on the wall ahead of me, a fixed point that's not moving. So if you kind of retrace that whole cycle there, we went from the feet, the base of the feet, engaged all the muscles from the feet to the legs, into the knees, into the thighs, hips tucked, squared, so we have a straight, erect spine. We brought our chest and ribcage up, but then sternum up, but then relax back. Make sure that our shoulders are relaxed and moved back so that we're not hunching our shoulders up, holding it tight. This does a lot of negative things for our breathing and also just our general energy and our feel of discomfort. When we relax our shoulders down, we feel more comfortable. We can even, if the hands are by the side, we can point the hands and engage the arms lightly. Chin is slightly tucked. Even our eyes have a point of focus. And then, icing on the cake, the breath. When we reach this point of basically complete balance, just in the standing, we can't help but be completely aware, totally present while we're there. Next, the mind might start wandering, what am I going to do after class? What am I going to do after this video? Oh, I have so much work to do today. Or, whatever it is. Oh, I need to get back to my yoga class myself. Whatever the thoughts are kind of running through your head. Take a deep breath. Back to the present moment. So, the point is here that at any moment, we can use our posture as a clue to bring us back into the present moment. We can use our posture, we can use our breath. If we have thoughts running around wild on us, we can use that as a clue like, oh wait, I'm kind of mindless. For people who are interested in this topic, I would highly recommend checking out at precisionprinciple.com. Check out The Game. Has your game begun? Are you in the game? If you're not in the game yet, then who knows, there might be a lot to benefit from doing so. So go to precisionprinciple.com, check out The Game, and start yours today, because it's potentially life transforming. It's big words, but it's actually true. So that is the essence of who we've been working with, and a practical takeaway that doesn't need to be applied just to yoga. It can be applied to concentration, to mindfulness in any moment in life. We can scan the body from the base all the way up through the mind. Anytime we want, we can use our posture as a trigger to bring us back to the present moment. If we notice that our posture's kind of starting to hang, then we might say, oh wait, I'm not really being mindful right now. Right? And also, last thing, I mentioned how if you hang your muscles on your skeleton will deteriorate over time. But if you engage your muscles all the time, not all the time, and I'm not saying that being tense all the time, but just using your muscles in the sense that they're basically intended to be used to hold your skeleton up instead of your skeleton holding your muscles up, then you're getting a subtle workout all day long. And you're going to increase your tone just by standing mindfully. And actually this is going to have a number of effects on your subconscious. There is a great TED Talk on how basically our posture affects the hormonal balances of our body. How if we take on a submissive posture, we start to be more likely to secrete cortisol and these other chemicals that sort of make us, that can often deteriorate our body. Whereas it's called power posing. They say, for example, if you have an interview, you go wham, maybe stand in the bathroom and stall for a minute and just really take on a large space-taking posture. And what happens is that you actually become more confident. You become more focused, more concentrated, and more ready to do what you need to do. And so we can do this throughout our whole life. What's going to happen is if you maintain good posture, it's going to affect your charisma. It's going to affect the way that you are perceived by other people. People generally perceive those with good posture as more confident, as more comfortable, and I believe even more trustworthy. I mean, if you kind of think of any time a bad character is depicted in a story, sort of a creepy old character, we get a Scrooge type character. How are they? They're not tall and confident and open and ready to go. They're kind of tucked away and just hunched over, and they're closed, real closed. Well, that's not a coincidence. That's not just because that stories tend to hyperbolize the negative qualities in us. But for example, that's because when we are erect and open, we feel happier, we feel more content, and we feel more confident. So if this is something that interests you, these are some simple techniques to bring you back to those moments on a day-to-day basis, on a moment-to-moment basis, anytime you notice it. And lastly, if you see other people who have less than perfect posture, don't judge them, but use that as a cue to be like, oh, wait a minute, that guy's got terrible posture, and oh, wait a minute, so do I right now. Use it as a clue to remind yourself that, hey, wait a minute, I need to re-engage my mind here in the present moment. I need to use that as a trigger to bring myself back, because I've probably been missing the point also, because we all have. None of us are perfect. We all have room to grow, and that's what makes this journey in self-development, in reaching our peak states and moving towards the upper limits of our potential. And that's what makes it so fun, is that there's never really an end destination. We always have more to work on, so we always have more that we can improve on, so that it's never stale. Our life is never stale. We always have something that is working for us, and that's that's fun. Don't take it as discouraging. Take it as encouraging, because we have benefits. There's low-hanging fruit. There's benefits we can be made with just even minimal effort. So it kind of makes it good. So that's all for today. If you're enjoying these videos, feel free to click subscribe down below, and you'll make sure to get all the updates as these videos come out, and some future series as we move forward. In the not so distant future, I'll be in Japan, and we'll be continuing these videos with philosophy, information, and some other ideas based on a number of other readings. So I hope you'll join me there as well. In the meantime, just keep learning, keep growing, and have a great day.